Welcome back to the KickNPost YouTube channel. We just drafted for the BDGE bash, and here's why I'm going to win. So I just want to review my team and how I kind of drafted, and then I'll probably look at Noah's team a little bit, Klug's team a little bit, and I'll probably come back with a part 2 where I review other people's teams in the league. But I just wanted to hop into my team and 2 of the content creators that I'm aware of in this league as well. BDGE Bash, League 5. I ended up with pick 10, and I went a little bit off script, right? I got Jalen Hurts at the 110, which I loved his rushing ability. Paired with a better offense, paired with better receiving options. I feel like if there's a year for him to explode in fantasy, even though he finished as a top 10 quarterback last year, I see potential for top 3 quarterback finish based on all the additions. I wanted Saquon Barkley, got snapped by Noah, so I had to settle for DeAndre Swift. I think that's not a bad settle. If this was a PPR league, we wouldn't even be questioning it, but with it being half PPR, I am a little bit worried about how many rushing attempts he'll get. I feel like they'll still probably use a mix of him and Jamal Williams. But he's their best playmaker, and he could take it for 60 at any point in the game. High ceiling, decent floor. I'm okay with Swift as my RB1. We come back to the 310. I was completely planning to take a running back here. Trey Lance was still on the board. I fell in love. That man has the potential to also be a top 10 quarterback, and the opportunity to pair 2 rushing quarterbacks with opportunity to be top 10 quarterbacks, I couldn't pass it up. That type of scoring will be what kind of leads me into the bash, in my opinion. And then I went for the Eagles stack with A.J. Brown in the 4th round. Not the highest on a new receiver going into that offense. Yes, I just said Jalen Hurts climbed up my list because of what was added, but I feel like it will be more beneficial to have like a Dallas Goedert or even a Devontae Smith. But I fell in love with the potential of a yak ability in A.J. Brown, using him all over the field, not asking Jalen Hurts to do too much passing downfield, just getting the ball into A.J. Brown's hands and having him do the rest. So I figured I would do that as well, diversify my team. I don't have any redraft teams really with A.J. Brown on it. So I hopped in, took A.J. Brown, came back, Elijah Mitchell, 5th round. I like the offense, and I think he'll be the running back 1 in that offense until injury, or I don't think he'll be like surpassed by a guy like Trey Sermon or Jeff Wilson or TDP. I think he has the position locked unless he gets injured. So we're just banking on him staying healthy. Yes, he's dealing with a hamstring injury right now, but I'm okay with that. The news on it seemed pretty positive, so I'm okay with taking Elijah Mitchell in the 5th round. Where I did kind of slip up, Deontay Johnson in the 6'3". I did not know he had suffered an injury at this point in the draft, but I'm still okay with having him as my wide receiver 2. Decent after catch, should have high volume. Offense isn't great, but the next wide receiver I took in Adam Thielen does have a good offense, and I am banking on high touchdown production out of Adam Thielen again, not to the same extent as last year because that's kind of an anomaly, but I still think he'll be a very dominant red zone presence for Kirk Cousins in this offense. Josh Jacobs at the 8-3. I'm usually not a fan of Josh Jacobs, but it comes to a point where a guy slips so far, you can't let him go past that point. At the 8-3 as my running back 3, I have a guy that should be in a very improved offense, decent pass catcher, should be used all over the field for the Las Vegas Raiders. Yes, Zamir White might take a couple touches off of him. They did get rid of Kenyon Drake. I feel like now Josh Jacobs is still one of the better pass catching running backs in that offense, within terms of like run after catch. And at the 8-3, at that point, you're just kind of filling in your RB3 spot. I'm not banking on him to be elite for me. I just need him to produce at a similar pace to last year. And last year we're looking at, dang, this thing taking a minute to load. We're looking at a decent running back for the Raiders in a way worse offensive situation. Adding Devontae Adams to the situation, I'm expecting more red zone touches and hopefully him falling into the end zone a little bit more for my roster. We go Kadarius Toney at 9-10. I just love the talent. I'm willing to bet on the talent. Wide receiver 4 for the roster right now could easily ascend past Adam Thielen if he's able to stay on the field. I am worried about his health. Everything we saw from him last year were in small stints. So at the 9-10, I'm okay investing there, especially in a 20-round draft. He'll be a great player for the bench. Devin Singletary is another person I'm really excited I got at the 10-3. Starting running back for the Buffalo Bills. I'm high on his potential this year. I know James Cook has taken a lot of the hype, but Devin Singletary runs between the tackles better, has more ability to kind of take those shots, is very versatile, does catch passes, and I think he'll be the red zone running back for this team. Yes, Josh Allen takes a lot of those red zone touches, but I'm okay betting on Devin Singletary at the 10-3. I did punt the tight end position. Very, very, very hesitant on having Mike Gesicki as my tight end 1, but I had to do it, right? I was looking at guys in Njoku later, but then you'll see later in the video or in another video where I cover the whole draft, there was a tight end run, and I missed out on Njoku. But Gesicki, again, improved offense. More red zone visits. Might become the red zone target for Tua. That's the theme of my team. If your team improved offensively, I was willing to bet on you as a player. Kenneth Gainwell, one of my favorite handcuffs that I took. Miles Sanders is dealing with a lingering hamstring injury. I was okay drafting Miles Sanders earlier in the offseason. Now I'm all about Kenneth Gainwell. Give me all the shares of Kenneth Gainwell. 12-3, I'm all about it. Especially if Sanders missed time, that'll be an elite pickup for the squad. Marcus Mariota is my quarterback 3. I don't love the situation in Atlanta, but I can't go into a super flex league with just 2 quarterbacks. Couldn't do it to myself. Devontae Parker looks like he's ascending up the depth chart as the wide receiver 1 for the New England Patriots. Jacoby Myers is a fun piece, but I feel like he's more of a PPR type player. With Devontae Parker, you get a mix of TD ability, deep catching ability. I think he's the most talented receiver that the Patriots have on their roster, for sure. So if he's able to stay healthy and take that wide receiver 1 spot, I'm in love with Devontae Parker out there for the Patriots at the 14-3. I'll take that value. Wandel Robinson is one of my favorite rookies this year. I think he's locked up the starting slot position right now for the Giants. He's a bit of an unknown. But, like I said, Kadarius Toney hasn't really been able to stay on the field. He's looked really good in camp. He's looked really good in preseason. So Wandel Robinson was a guy I'm targeting in a lot of leagues, especially this late. To Kenny Pickett at the 16-3. Again, this league is you win week 12, you move on to a bash. I feel like he'll be starting by back end of the year. And I don't think I have any buys leading in that situation. No. All my buys for my starting quarterbacks will be good at that point. But sometimes you got to play a little offense by playing defense. A lot of teams, I feel like the team over here with Mr. Trubisky as a starting quarterback, they won't have a third starting quarterback. So they might be missing an option when one of their players go on bye. Playing a little bit of offense by playing defense. Took Chuba Hubbard, 17-10. He's fighting for that backup spot with Deontay Foreman. Pay attention to that. We don't know who will be the backup. I'm leaning in the Chuba Hubbard realm right now just based on the experience last year. But Deontay Foreman's no joke. Played a really good fill-in role for Derrick Henry last year out there in Tennessee. Pay attention to that situation for sure. And with a guy like CMC whose health has been in question, you never know. If CMC goes down early, either me or the owner of Deontay Foreman could come into a running back 1 type production with the backup that we acquired. Right? Curtis Samuel at the 18-3. I know Chris loves this pick. Chris is a huge Curtis Samuel guy. I think back here, he's a weapon. He'll be used all over the field, especially with the news, unfortunately, of Brian Robinson. I still don't think they trust Antonio Gibson that much. I think what you're more likely to see is a 3-headed monster of Samuel, McKissick, and Robinson. So, last couple picks of the draft. We went Samaje Perine 19-10. We went Desmond Ridder 23. How would I review the draft? I probably should have not taken this many quarterbacks. Looking back, I could have punted that Desmond Ridder pick or punted that Pickett pick or even given up that Mariota pick and just taken Pickett or Ridder and acquire me an Isaiah McKenzie. Lock up a Zamir White. Lock up a Romeo Dubes or Dobbs, however you pronounce it, right? One strategy that I'm seeing that Noah implemented, he took his RB1, he took Chase Edmonds for his RB2, and then it was a multitude of backups. He's locking up all the backup spots. If Zeke gets hurt, Pollard is an elite player. If Akers gets hurt, or even if Akers doesn't get hurt, Darrell Henderson is going to be in a 50-50 split or take that position. Rashad White, just in case Fournette gets hurt. Zamir White, in case I lose Josh Jacobs. Eno Benjamin, in case James Conner gets hurt. Right? Dontrell Hilliard, in case Derrick Henry gets hurt. Jay Warren, in case Najee Harris gets hurt. He locked up everybody's backups. So on the waivers, there will be no potential to pick up backups if these guys go down. And I understand the strategy completely. I personally don't love it, but I get why he did it. And then we're looking at David Klug, who punted the running back position. Did something similar, but not as well as Noah, in my opinion. He locked up his starting 3 wide receivers, which elite trio. Metcalf, Lamb, Chase. If Metcalf is able to, regain some of that production with Geno Smith, that'll be an elite starting trio in this league. He locked up Lamar Jackson as a starting quarterback. I'm not too high on Aaron Rodgers this year, but I understand you can't really pass on the back-to-back MVP. And then he took a bunch of shots at the running back position. You got David Montgomery, 7'5". He's the starter right now. You got J.K. Dobbins, which if he comes back to full health by week 3, he was projected to be a top 10 running back this year if it wasn't for the ACL kind of lingering and dampening his preseason and his offseason training. And then he went Damian Harris, who should still be a pretty big factor in New England. James Robinson out there in Jacksonville could, again, be a factor, but at minimum is a backup to Travis Etienne. J.D. McKissick, PPR, I love it. For this type of league, I don't necessarily. But again, Brian Robinson's assumed out of the picture for a while with what happened today. There's not much love for Antonio Gibson in the backfield anymore. Who knows? We could be looking at J.D. McKissick being that guy. Deontay Foreman for the Derrick Henry injury. Nope, my bad. Deontay Foreman for the CMC injury if it occurs, right? Sony Michel, shown ability before. Tyler Batty, again, in a Baltimore backfield that we're not really sure what to expect. And then Kyron Williams, just in case Akers and Henderson aren't ready for the start of the year. There's a lot to look at in this league, and I feel like my roster has a good balance of wide receivers with potential to snap, guys like Devontae Parker, guys like Kadarius Toney. Even though I got them later in the draft, they could easily send in the starters for my roster. Running back position, I'm a little bit hesitant to say that I am really set, but I'm okay with DeAndre Swift. I could cope with Josh Jacobs as my RB3. Elijah Mitchell staying healthy, I'll be good with him as my RB2. I'm lacking on the tight end spot for sure, but I think the team in general, if Jalen Hurts and Trey Lance hits, will be going to the bash at minimum, right? The projections are looking kind of low for the roster right now, but we'll see how things go. I think I drafted a winning roster for the BDGE bash in League 5, and hopefully week 1 we'll be coming back reviewing a win, but until then, I'll have a full draft breakdown in maybe a week. Give me a second to actually get my thoughts together, and in a week I'll have a full draft breakdown of all the other rosters, and I'll give them probably a rating. I might do a rating scale of every team in this league, so stay tuned for that. Thank y'all for tuning into the video. This has been Amal of KickNPost. We're winning the bash. Catch y'all on the next one.